What's up, guys? Justin here with Marketplace Revival Alliance. I got my good friend Amber Kraft with us here today, and we're just going to talk about some hard-hitting subjects. We're entrepreneurs in the marketplace, Christian entrepreneurs in the marketplace, and we want to just talk about revival in the marketplace. And Amber, you are a mom of 3 kids.
Yes.
You love Jesus. You started Everclear in 2017, and Everclear is what you guys are based in Chandler?
Yes.
Is that right? Right. And you focus on mold, asbestos, testing, lead testing, remediation, and then also have this really cool air quality service that I definitely want you to talk about. And you had started your business in 2017?
Correct.
Is that right?
Yes.
So let's talk about that just real quick. What was the reason, right? You're a woman in a man's space,
Yes.
right? But you started it for a very specific reason. Like, what was the reason Everclear came about?
So I don't think in the very beginning there was a specific reason. I don't think that reason came until God revealed that to me. In the beginning, I was working for another company for about 6.5 years in the same type of industry.
Okay.
And while that, I was like a sponge. I started as an admin, and eventually that led me into kind of the business development role. And I was pretty close with the operating managers and owners at the time. And so I would really just like listen to everything that he was doing, and not with the intention that I would ever going to start something, just because I really like enjoyed the knowledge that he had.
Yeah.
And I respected him as a business owner because it was somewhere where I would go to work and I felt seen there. It was like I was family there, and coming from a household where I didn't really feel like that, it was interesting to me to come into a workplace and kind of feel like there was a family there, but you were working. And so I really respected that. And so I was there for 6.5 years, and then some things took a turn with ownership with the company, and I was no longer in alignment with the other owners that were about to step in. And so I ended up having a conversation with the owner's wife, who was like a second mother to me at the time. And we went and sat down at Red, White, and Brew. And she was like, I want you to remember your self-worth and just like who you are. And that was a pivotal moment for me. I literally went back and I quit that day. And I had no plan, literally
Praise God.
no plan. I was kind of doing photography on the side. I was doing wedding photography, maternity, things like that. I was a mom. So I wasn't really sure if I was just going to stay home and be a mom and then maybe start a business doing the photography thing. But I was still very connected into the industry. And so I had a lot of people calling, asking like, hey, do you want to come work for me? Like, what happened?
Yeah.
And I just really wasn't sure what I wanted to do. So I ended up connecting with another friend at the time who was in the industry, and he was like, well, I'll hire you on the side to do some marketing, some plumber chasing and things like that.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, like this might be some side money for me. So I started that. I hated it. That was not my lane. I did not want to chase plumbers all day. It was awful. And so the idea was kind of thrown around of like, well, like, have you ever thought about starting your own environmental company, because you have all of this like knowledge of the industry? And so there was definitely some promises that were made there to like, hey, we'll totally support you. We'll send you all this work. And so I went into it just like fired up, like, yeah, I could do this. Like I soaked up everything like a sponge from where I was at. I'm a pretty good leader. Like I could figure this out, and they're going to give me work. So like, I don't even have to go.
Sounds like a win-win,
yeah,
right? Yeah.
From there, I just need to go find additional
So easy.
work. But yeah, so easy, right? And
Yeah.
that's kind of like what was in my brain. And it was the furthest thing from that. Those promises ended up being broken promises. And there was a lot of betrayal that went on with somebody that I thought was a friend. Some legal stuff. I mean, there was just a lot of stuff that happened. And so I went into survival mode with the business. I went into fight or flight. And so it was just like, well, I've already started this thing. I went and got my ROC, my business license. I did all of that myself, went and got a location, all of the insurances that I was going to need, because we're in hazardous material. So there's a lot of different things that you would have to have for that. And so I went and did that. And then I basically had this team. And then it was kind of like, it was kind of an ego thing. Not going to lie in the beginning, because it was like, all of you people told me that I couldn't do this. And,
because you were a woman, like, or just because?
In that, and just in general, I just think people were like, what is she getting herself into? Like, people just didn't, I don't know. We had a lot, like the people that we were working for beforehand too, like, they all had something to say, because I left there and it was like, oh, now she's going to compete with us. And so there was just a lot, but that fueled my fire, because I was like, okay, well, bet. like I'll do it, And so it really did kind of come out of ego and survival and fight or flight and just I don't getting hit with thing after thing after thing after thing, but keeping it going, keeping it going. And then in 2023, everything crashed and burned.
Mm.
So I came to the end of myself at that point, and I couldn't do it on my own anymore. And God really broke me. And I remember I even have a video of me sitting out at the Salt River and just breaking like at the Salt River. And I was just like, take it from me. Like, I don't want anything to do with this. Like, I don't want the company. I'm done.
Wow.
And at the time, my husband was staying at home with the kids. He had stayed home for like 3 years. And I remember just like coming home and losing it in the kitchen. And I was like, go deliver pizzas. Like, I don't care what you have to do.
You're a
but
pizza
like,
guy now, Kevin.
yeah,
Let's go. Yeah.
I did not care. And
Oh
I
my
was just like,
gosh.
I am done. I cannot carry this
Wow.
anymore. I don't want to do this.
Yeah.
And it was literally like less than a week later and we were broke. Like in 2023, everything, not only had I crashed and burned mentally, like the company was crashing and burning, everything was just, it wasn't good. And so less than a week after that, after I like told him he needed to go back to work and I was ready to like figure out how to close it down, we get a call from somebody that I'd actually fired. But I still have such a heart for this guy. It's just we weren't in alignment. There was some things that were going on. He just no longer could work for
Mm-hmm.
us. But I got a call from him, or Chris got a call from him, my general manager, and he was like, "Hey, these people keep trying to get a hold of me, and it's from a job that we bid out a year ago, and it's over $100,000. I really think you should call them."
Mm.
And I mean, I was at a point where I was like, "Okay, like this is too good to be true." Turns out it wasn't too good to be true. And it was literally God breathing life back into the company. And it was after I surrendered the company to him. And I feel like that week was such a pivotal week for me of not only like personally for me, personally in my relationship, like in the business. It was just like, I really found myself broken out of place where like, I didn't know how to get back up, and he breathed life into it and into me in a way that is unexplainable.
Yeah. Amen. Come on.
And that was like really the time where I was like, okay, this isn't mine.
Mm.
Like, and that was the realization that this was like way bigger than just me and my own egoed self that wanted to prove everybody
Well, and
wrong.
what a deep revelation too, though, right? Like you start to realize that one, I'm actually not alone. That
Mm,
God's with me, and this whole time He's been with me. But I really do need Him if I'm going to go forward.
yeah.
And that's that. I think that that's the beauty behind the brokenness when we go through something and God allows us, and the reason He allows us is because the end result is Him,
Yeah.
right? And He's like, this could be the only way that you're going to find me, in the way that you'll truly understand who I am,
Mm,
right? And I think that's the beauty behind sometimes going into, because going back to, when you first started and everybody, oh well, she can't do it again. There's a lot of unbelief, right? And
mm,
like you said, there was like an ego of like, no, I could, right? Like, no, I could do anything, which I think is really healthy and really good. But what happens is that I feel really bad for people that don't have faith,
yeah.
right? And because what happens is that we go through this, and oftentimes, like you said, there was no real plan, right?
No.
Like you were just like, we're gonna go,
Yeah.
and then you end up in this place of like, all right, I need a plan now. Like, Lord, I need you to interfere. And He's like, I've just been waiting. I've been here the whole time.
Yeah.
And then now that He's there, right? Like, so now in the last 3 years, right? We're in 2026, right? We're going through this year, and we're just getting it going, right? In the last couple years since that moment, right? Where has faith really just stepped in for you to help you in those same types of hard decisions, right? Because you've faced more of them, right? It's not
Oh
like
yeah.
everything just got better and you're just
No.
like, oh, God's my CEO. It's like, oh, dude, we're just blessed and highly favored, just walking around here like,
Yeah.
woohoo, right? Like, that's not how it was, right? Like, how has your faith impacted those new hard decisions that you've been seeing and going through?
Well, I feel like you said, it wasn't just like that happened, everything got better. I feel like it did for a little bit, because I feel like God kind of brings us into a flow where He's like, okay, I want you to taste my goodness in this. And so
Mm,
that was kind of the beginning of it, was like, we got this $100,000 that came in, and it was just like, for a second, I felt like I could breathe. And so it was God like almost like a protection and a love of like, hey, I just want you to taste my fruit. I want you to taste my goodness before I like, come at you with another like baptism through fire is basically
Yeah.
what I call them.
Yeah.
And those are like my lessons.
Yeah.
And so now it is shifted because everything gets taken to the Lord, and I stopped acting like it was all mine to carry. And that has been a
Come on.
process though. I have to remind myself that still to this day every morning, even though I've been going through this for the last 3 years of surrendering every morning and giving it to him. It's really like, you have to remind yourself to do it because I feel like our flesh is just so quick to be like, I got this, like
Mm-hmm.
I'll just handle it or I'll do the next thing.
Right
And
here.
that, that for me created
Move
like
out of the way.
such a burnout. And
Yeah.
it was creating a burnout in my faith. It was creating a
Mm.
burnout in my business and how I led and how I showed up as a mom. And like, God was like, this isn't what I wanted for you, like
Yeah.
at all.
Yeah.
And so when I get hit with these decisions now, it's just like, for me, I just look at it as another like lesson or test. It's like, okay, well, what are you trying to teach me here? There's obviously either a character building skill that you're trying to
100%.
like pull out of me, or there's a stewarding issue.
Mm.
And so like, I need to get to a place where I'm solely focusing on you and how you want me to steward this, because I've already seen that your way is better. My way led me to crash and burn.
Mm.
And that was like going back to that pivotal moment in
Yeah.
2023. So
That's deep.
that's how faith, and now like I can take those things, and I believe that that's why Everclear is bigger than even just Everclear or bigger than me, because I'm taking these lessons that I've had to walk through and I'm implementing those into the business, into my team's growth.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, well, what are you walking through? Like,
Yeah.
what are you dealing with so that maybe you can skip some of those things? Like, I think a lot of times people will go through hard things and then they feel like it's a badge of honor. And so they don't want to share what they've been through
Mm.
to help another person, because it's like, well, I was wounded in the process of going through that. And so I don't want to share. And I kind of heard this same analogy from somebody else, and I don't remember who. I'd like to quote them, but and that really resonated with me, because it's like the things that I've gone through, they've been really tough. I feel like I've been surviving this world my entire life. Like I was almost built to take these licks and to survive them. But I think it's because I'm supposed to like deliver those out to other people to maybe help them not go through those same things. And so in the world of business, like I feel like that's part of the calling with me in Everclear and my faith journey through Everclear, is like he's broken me so hard through the business to be able to be that light to other people, to like encourage them to keep going. And if you really feel like you are called there, and it's not just your own desire, which I had to go through as well, like, is Everclear my desire or is this your desire?
Yeah.
Because
Come
I'm
on.
pretty sure I heard your
Come on.
promise,
Yeah.
and I'm pretty sure I heard it clear, but I could be wrong. I could be doing this off my own ego still, or off my own desire. So tell me which way this is. And I really do feel like he showed me that, no, this is off of the calling and the promise that he told me. You're going to go through these things and you're going to help other people so that they can walk in a way too that, is easier maybe for them.
Well, let's talk about that, right? Because I love that, you say that and are walking this out, that, Everclear is kingdom built.
Yeah.
Right. So with that, what does that look like in how you treat your clients and your team? Like, let's expand on that, because that's really a deep like question that we've got to look at of when we ask the question of, am I building it God's way or am I building it my way? And how do I know, right? That we would see it in and through the fruit of the people that we are around, that we're serving, that we're alongside. So serving, leading, ultimately as a business owner, as a entrepreneur, and somebody that's at the tip of the spear of a company, you're leading clients and you're leading teams, right? And that's the hard part in the beginning, right? Of like, it's like, oh, I know how to do this skill,
Yeah.
but then it's like, but leadership,
Yeah.
but business ownership, right? So in that, and being kingdom built, how does that affect your clients and your team? Like, what does that look like for you? Like, let's expand on that, because I think there's a lot of people out there, especially women, that need to hear, right, the depths of like, it's not easy. And I love what you said, that that you really feel that God has brought you through a lot of hard things already, and has given you a strength in order to really share your testimony and help others in that same strength. Because I always tell men that your testimony is the key to somebody else's jail cell.
100%.
And what God has done in you, he wants you to tell other people about. Because it's not about like, I did this. It's like, let me tell you what God got me through.
Yes.
Right? I did this with God. So when you're a kingdom built business, like what does that really look like? Just your values and how you treat people, whether they're clients or your team. Like what does that really look like?
Well, let's start with the team because I feel like it can't even go to the clients until we start with the team. And that's kind of the discussions that I have had with them too. And thankfully, like, first of all, I'm very open about my faith in the business. I'm very open about like how I'm authentic in it. Like I try to just be really real with my employees and be like, this is exactly what we've been through. This is exactly when I got broken. This is exactly when it got handed over to him. And this is who's in charge. And I open that with an expectation, even when I hire. So like a lot of people were laughing at me. Well, Chris was laughing at me when I would build my job templates because it was very in depth and it was like, hey, this is who we are. I'm never going to push something on you, but these are the values that I align with. And if you don't align with those, I don't wish you ill will, but there are thousands of other places that you can go find employment. I want it to be in alignment with me, and I want it to be in alignment with you, and that way it all kind of works together, right?
No, I love that.
And so I feel like that's the first step is really like putting yourself in alignment with people who even want to walk in the same walk that you want, or will take the counseling and criticism and growth and not be offended by
The
it.
leadership.
The
Right?
leadership.
Yeah.
And I always tell them I'm not a micromanager, but I will I'll get into the depths with you. And so, I try and do, in the past, I've done gifting, templates for my team to just figure out like, how do you respond? How do you,
come on.
you know,
Good.
like
Good.
what strengths and gifts were you naturally given at birth from the Lord? Because you're going to succeed in life if you really hone in on those. And what you're doing for work is using those gifts. And so if you're outside of that, then maybe we can create a different position for you that really embodies what your actual gifts are. If you're really gifted in speaking and
they might not know that, right?
No,
they might not know that, and you're helping them
because they're
to
just looking
discover
for
that.
a paycheck.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Just
And
doing a job.
That's real in
that.
the world right
Yeah.
now because everybody's hurting. So it's just, they need a job.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I've been there.
Yeah.
And so it's really taking the time to like really like look at them as a human and not just another number and being like, okay, well, this is who God built you to be. Like right now you're just a tech. And so you're not just a tech, but you're a tech in the demo field. So you're not being seen by other people, but you actually have a voice box from the Lord and you're great with customer service and all of these different things. You're so,
help you
know
discover
what I mean?
it. Come on.
So if that's your gift, but you're over here behind containment, you're not actually like utilizing those. And so you're not in your best position. And so I want to find those things and then put you in a place that's not only going to help the company better, it's going to help you.
Come on.
So that would be like one of the first ways that I've tried to dive into it. And then I do like, we try to keep up with like what's going on in their life. Like I don't need to know everything, obviously. Like personal life doesn't necessarily need to mix with business, but I tried to explain to them, and I've poured into Chris in this way too. It's just like getting to the root system for these guys of like, okay, if there's something going on at home and it is happening, it is coming up into work, how can we help you with that? Like, is there an underlying issue that maybe Chris or I have already been through that we can talk you through it and then help you grow
as a leader? Yeah.
And I feel like as we do that with them, it's a domino effect. And I tell my team this all the time is like, I'm up here at the top of it and humbly at the top of it, but that's just where God put me. And then you've got Chris. And so I'm pouring into my general manager, and then I expect him to take that same vision, that same mission that God has given me. And then you are to pour that into the team. And then it should continue to go out with whoever else is underneath that next. And so for my team, if it's my guys that are going to a house, this is where our customers come into play. So now you're walking into a home and I expect you to have that same level of compassion and empathy and understanding when you're walking into somebody's house that's destroyed. We're literally going in there for a hazardous situation to restore it, like restoration.
That's revival. You're coming in with revival.
Yes, to make it clean and new and safe and all of these things. And so, like, I just want them to go into the home with that, like, understanding in mind is that you're here to serve. At the end of the day, like, that is what we're here for. God is the provider. He'll deal with the funds. He'll deal with all of the businessy stuff. Like, I just need them to be locked in. You're here to serve, and you're here to serve with excellence and integrity. So when you go in, you don't cut corners.
Yeah.
Like,
come on.
You do everything as if it was your own home or your grandma's
That's
home.
it. Yeah.
And
Somebody that
you
you
do
love.
that because you are standing so solid in who you are, and you know that what you're doing is making a difference, and it's making a difference for what you're actually physically doing there, but it's also making a difference for the kingdom, because now these people who may have had like such a horrible experience in the past with a contractor, or is just going through it because nobody wants to go through that in their own home, is now getting this like weird sense of peace, because they just know that the people that they hired, like their hard-earned money is going to someone who's like, I got you, I see you, I hear you, and we're going to take care of you, don't worry about it.
Mm.
And I think that is a lot of like bringing the kingdom into the business.
Yeah. No, that's great. You know what I love about that? Like what I heard, right, is that there is a difference between pouring on and pouring in,
Mm.
right? And when you pour into somebody, you're going to fill them up. And what does that do with them? It helps them to rise.
Yeah.
But when you're pouring on to somebody, like you could just be putting too much on them and it's just going to weigh them down, right? It's not going to help them to rise, right? And I love that, because that's a thing that I have found in helping business owners and just being around entrepreneurs in general, and just asking some of those hard questions, is that some of the standards generally are so swayed over into making money
Yeah.
as the first thing, which means that that's all we care about. And it's like, well, if I don't make money, then you don't get the excellence of service.
Yeah.
Right. And obviously, as a business owner, you're a for profit business, right? We're just not out here just feeding the homeless and getting money for it. Right. But at the end of the day, the Bible in Matthew 6:22, right? He says that the eye is the lamp of the body. And if the eye is single, if it's healthy, if it's clear, however you translate it, then the whole body is flooded with light.
Mm.
And if your eye is dark, if it's darkness, and how great is that darkness? And I think that that's the thing that's so difficult, especially in the construction field, because me being in the construction field for 28 years and then now just for the last 2 years being out of it, I've seen that. I've seen the cut corners. I've seen the builders. I've seen the contractors. I've seen the people, even in my own industry, that would just be like, dude, it's just going to get covered with drywall. Nobody will know.
Yeah.
And it's like, brother, that's the issue.
It's wild.
You should know that that's not good, because you're like, well, it's not my house. I don't care. That's the problem.
Yeah.
You should treat it like it's your own house, right? And that's really a big problem.
It is. And I think that the problem really stems from lack of leadership, though, because you are expecting your guys to go in who are not connected to the vision and the mission the same way that the owner would be, because it's your company. So what are you doing as an owner and as a leader to connect them to that? Because they don't care. They just want to go and they want to do their job and they want to collect their money and then they want to go home. Right. But if you can connect them to the vision and the mission, and you're growing them as people, like I try to explain to them all the time, like, I want to grow you not just for Everclear. I want to grow you so that you're growing into the man that you need to be outside of Everclear, so that you are the
Amen.
best husband.
Yeah.
You are the best father. Like, you want these things in life. Like, they're not just, God's going to give you the shovel, but you got to dig.
Yeah.
Like,
Dude, I love that, because here's why that's so important, Amber. This is why this is so important, is that you have 24 hours in a day. And if we just chop it up averagely, right? Well, 8 of them you sleep. Okay. Then you got some other time where you're traveling, you're getting ready, you're eating breakfast, you're doing all these things. So when you really cut it down, right? 8 hours of sleep and generally 8 hours of work, right? And some of us more, right? And you're spending that time with other people. And oftentimes, especially for men, like construction guys, you could work 12 hours, 13 hours a day, but then only spend 2 or 3 hours a day with your family. So it's like you're really spending a lot of time with these people. So as Christian business owners, as Christian leaders in the marketplace, why wouldn't we have that mindset? Why wouldn't we look at it and say, I'm here to serve you and show you and model that behavior in that way, so that that would instill and pour into you to where you would go and do the same thing, not just for money, but as a value of your entire life, and in your home as a wife or a husband, as a father or a mother. 100%.
It's a boots on the ground ministry is what it is.
But why do you think that Christian business owners, because this is the thing, right, is that a lot of business owners say that they're faith-based, but in truth be told, like, few of them actually live that standard out.
Yeah.
Right? Few of them actually live by the standard, especially under pressure. especially under pressure, right? It's like as soon as pressure comes out, it's like stepping on a Lego, right? I always tell people it's like, listen, dude, I ain't perfect. Like I could step on a Lego and I don't know what comes out. It just comes out. I didn't want that to come out. I didn't have a response. I just reacted. And it's just like, right? Like I stubbed my toe the other day in the kitchen and my daughter was sitting right in front of me. She was right on the counter, a little 2-year-old, just right here. And I stubbed and I saw her and was like, right? She's just looking at me like, what is wrong? Right. But I just like it was like it was there, but I saw her face, so I just started mumbling,
Yeah.
right? And it was the pinky toe, and it was terrible, right? But
That's the worst.
it's the worst, right? But it's the same thing as it's like, when you squeeze an apple and orange juice comes out, it's weird,
Yeah.
right? It's super weird. So as Christians, we should really look at that and just evaluate and not say it's like, hey, I'm not perfect, but I am perfected. And what does it look like to be perfected in the marketplace as a business owner under pressure? When those things happen, when whatever it may be, it could be losing an employee, it could be something goes wrong at a job, it could be financial, it could be a client that's super unhappy. I don't know, right? It just a car wreck. One of our techs gets in an accident. Guy quits randomly. Like, it's one of those things where it's like, what does it look like for us? Because so many people say that they're faith-based, but then when pressure comes, they fail. What does it really look like to operate in faith in those moments? Like, where have you seen yourself under pressure, actually being obedient to God and living in that faith manner? And when you get squeezed, Jesus comes out.
Yeah, it took a while to get there. So it was after that
Stepped
breaking.
on a few Legos on the way
Yeah.
there.
Oh, for sure. Even like after the breaking, it's still like I still feel like I have to like bring myself back. So that's going back to like I'm not perfect, but like I sit and reflect constantly.
Yeah.
Like there is nothing I probably reflect more than I do anything else in the day, right? Because if I'm going to expect if I'm going to pour into people and expect them to kind of listen to me and take what I'm saying because it really does come out of a pure intention of my heart, then I have to hold myself to that same level. And so I probably rip myself apart more than I rip anybody else apart. And so going back to that is like when I hit these stressful situations, I've now gotten to a place where I kind of laugh because I've hit them so much that it's just like God will take care of it. Like I don't really have an answer for it because I'm just like God will take care of it. So the most recent one would be like I've had a lot of turmoil on hiring somebody in my office because I've had just people. It's a very sensitive place to be. Like that's a lot of your main stuff is going through your office.
Behind the curtain.
Yeah, that and like they are the ones that are really communicating with the people and so they're really representing Everclear at a level that's really important. And so I've had a lot of PTSD of hiring because I just haven't had a lot of alignment with people who have been in that position. So this last time around when I went to go hire, I finally like got to a point where I prayed and God was like, "Okay, like go ahead, you can do this." And again, I went through all of the steps that I needed to make sure I was bringing somebody in who was in alignment. Got to a place where I picked somebody and I was like, I remember being like, I don't feel like there's one that was just like, that's the one. But I had found somebody that I was like, I think she would do a good job. Well, it ended up turning out that she ended up having some other things. She might have been moving in a couple of like 7 months, told me these things. And so it kind of fell through. And so I ended up not hiring an admin. And I remember being so defeated and like just being like so stressed out because I'm like, God, like you told me to go hire an admin and I went through all of these interviews. I went through second interviews. I've been going through resumes for days. Like this was like a 3-week process that I was just pouring with this expectation of like, you're going to deliver. You're going to deliver this person. And it didn't come. And I just remember being devastated. And I remember having that conversation with Chris where I was like, listen, I am devastated and I feel stressed out because now I'm still carrying the weight of all of this. Because I was doing the admin stuff, but I believe that God will I believe he's got a plan and he'll come through. And so we waited about another month or so. And then I kind of felt it on my heart again. And he was like, try again. And I did. And I ended up finding somebody who's with me now and she's amazing. And she's so in alignment and all of the things. But back before the breaking of that, like I would have stressed out so bad and just been like, well, I'm just going to do it all myself forever.
Yeah.
Then.
Get out of the way.
Get out of the way. And that was so different this time. And I feel like there's a sanctification I believe that you go through in your personal journey with Jesus, but I also believe there's a sanctification that you go through as a business owner
Come on.
with Jesus.
Yeah.
And that's learning these certain things of when you hit these pressures and these stressors, it's like, how are you going to react? How are you going to respond? Are you going to let him take it and just carry that for you? Or, and it's not that you're not supposed to move, but are you moving that's in accordance with him and right behind him instead of in front of him? And that is always my prayer in the morning. Is I wake up every morning and I just ask, like, please yield my spirit to yours, because I know my spirit is strong. I'm very aware of that, but it's almost too strong. And so I just pray, like, just yield me to you and let me follow you, and you take me where you need to go.
No, that's really good. That's really good. So can you share, in talking about that, can you share a moment that when you felt God's direct guidance when you were facing a really pivotal decision, right? When it was like, we have to, like right now, you're talking about the admin thing, but coming into, 2023 and you're in this broken place, but now you're relying on God. He's your CEO. You're running things through him. You're not doing it on your own anymore. Like when you have faced one of those really tough decisions of like, almost like a make it or break it, right? Like we get into these hard decisions, especially when we're in kind of a infancy stage or because that's really where you're at. It was like your business got born again, right? And like baptism
Praise
of fire,
Jesus.
right? Come on. And I love that you're talking about that, right? Of like
We
the
even scaled
sanctification.
back. Like he even scaled the company back. Like we went down to like, it was just me, Chris, and two techs, like or maybe even one tech, when God like broke it to rebuild it, which I found was interesting in itself.
Well, and that's amazing. So in that, right? Like where was just a pivotal decision? Like when you had to make something, you had to do something different, right? Like, but you felt God's direct guidance, right? That it was like it could have only been him, right?
Yeah, so I would say 2023 was definitely like the first time that ever happened, because that was like the first time that I like remember surrendering it, and then he like literally came through less than, I honestly think it was like 48 hours later. I'm going to have to ask Chris, but I think it was 48 hours later, like to the point where I was just like, there's no way. Like I remember feeling this like sense of just like, that was a huge miracle. Like I was ready to just give up on it all, and he just breathed life into it. And he has done that a couple of times throughout since 2023. I hit another breaking point in probably like a little over a year ago, where I was just like burnt out, and I was following his ways, but it was like things were just not clicking. And then that can be frustrating, because it's like, God, I'm following you. Like,
Yeah.
why isn't this just like, you told me the promise was here. You've breathed life into it over and over again. I'm being baptized through fire. Like you've changed my character, but like, we still here.
Yeah.
So like, what are we doing?
Am I walking in circles in the desert, Lord? Like what's
Yes,
happening here?
like I don't understand. Like I'm so confused, and that can get defeating after a while,
Oh, I
because you're
know.
just like, I'm trying to be so obedient, but like it's just not coming. And it would come in different ways, right? But it's hard to cling on to those little ways when when you're like in the valley. You know what I mean? Like you're getting some water handed to you, but you're still walking through like the desert of the valley, and you're like, okay, these little things are great and sustaining me right now, but the big picture is like, this is still draining me. So if this is from you and everything from you is supposed to be good, and I'm being obedient, this don't feel good.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
and so I remember getting to that place again where I was like, and that's why I said I went back to like, is this my desire or is this your desire? Because now I'm very confused. And so I was ready to bankrupt it again. And I was going through the channels again of bankrupting it. And he would breathe life back into it, like he in weird ways, or different opportunities, like would randomly open doors to be
Wasn't
like,
there yesterday, and now here it is. Like,
no, I mean, even MRA, like there was a point again where I was just like feeling like defeated and overwhelmed. And I'm just like, walking through it and just every day trying to navigate. And then MRA like ends up on my Instagram randomly. And I'm like, what's this? Like, and then I look into it, and it's so in alignment of like everything I've been trying to do, like running around in circles. And I'm like, okay, like this is another nugget from you to be like, hey, I'm going to like connect you with other people who are like-minded, so that you can stop feeling like you're on your own island.
Yeah.
Because that's like kind of how it's felt.
Amen.
And so, yeah, I don't know that there's like one particular like where I can say, oh, like this was it. There's been so many different things where I've just been like that gut punch of just like, that was him.
Mm.
I remember I was sitting on a mountain one day, praying over the business. This is kind of wild. It was around the time of in 2023, and I have this mountain that I always go up, and I was up there for I don't know how long. Like when I tell you that I must have been in some weird trance, it like
I know
it
that.
was
Yeah, I
so
know
hot
that.
up there. I remember like when I came to, I was sweating. The next day I was burnt. So I was like, okay, I literally had to have been up there for hours,
Wow.
but I didn't realize it. And this man came up, and it was so weird. It was wild because he kind of looked like my dad, which was weird. And he just randomly was like, are you like, what are you doing up here? And I randomly was like, oh, I'm just hanging out with Jesus. Like I would have never told anybody that. So why that even like came out of my mouth in the first place was wild. And I was like, I'm just praying over my business. Like it's just been really tough. And so all of a sudden he's like, oh, well, what do you do? And I tell him, and he literally used to own a business in another state that it was like a Serve Pro, which is like a
Okay.
big
Yeah.
version
Yeah. Big.
of
Yeah.
kind of what I do. But like most people, when I tell them what I do, they don't know. They
Mm-hmm.
like have no under, they're like asbestos. Like, what's that? You know, this guy literally knew what I did. So that was so weird. And so as we're walking down, like he's talking to me about it, he's filling me up, and it's almost like God waited for me to have that man get
Mm.
to the top of that mountain. And when I tell you that God used him as a vessel that day, and like I met Jesus on top of that mountain, I truly believe that. We like got to the bottom of the mountain. I don't even remember all he said. I just remember being like, I can't believe that this is even happening. And then I got to the mountain, I was walking away, and he was like, hey, and I turned around, and he was like, whatever you've been praying for over that business, he heard you, and he's listening to you. And I remember just getting in my truck and just like bawling my
That
eyes
reminds me
out.
of like you're entertaining angels sometimes unaware. Like
Yes.
you know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Like
I
you're
mean,
just
I
on a
immediately
mountain.
was like,
A
that
father
was you,
figure comes to you and ministers to you.
which has been a broken trauma of mine forever. So it's
Too.
like, it was, it was wild. It
Come on.
like, that was, I will never forget that. That was one of those moments where I just felt like he showed up in the physical, like in some way through that vessel.
Come
And
on.
that is why I was like in this weird trance, sweating, apparently
Mm-hmm.
getting burnt at the top of this mountain. And so, yeah, it's just, it's little things like that where he shows up in this business in ways that, like, I've reached out to pastors, I've reached out to outside sources to ask, like, hey, this is where I'm at with this business. What do you guys think I should do? And, like, on the outside, almost everybody has been like, I don't know why you're still doing this. Like, this doesn't make any sense. And it doesn't. On paper, this business makes zero sense, but God makes sense. And I've known that. And I've known that in a gut way of like, I heard what I heard, and none of you are going to tell me differently.
Mm.
And until he tells me to put it away, like, we're just going to keep going this way in whatever that looks like day by day.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, he keeps showing up.
He keeps showing up.
He keeps showing up in the fatherly ways, right? And I mean, you can't deny that,
No.
right? And then but at the same time, right? And I love your heart in this is it's like, well, if he's going to keep showing up and he's going to keep pouring in, then what am I going to do to steward what he's growing?
Yeah.
Right? Because that's clearly his, and that's the discipline. I think that we sometimes forget that it we make it about our discipline rather than his, and that it's his discipline. He's disciplining, right, us because he loves us and he wants us to be. I mean, it's the same thing with our children. It's like, I want you to be the best that you can be, which means
For
that
sure.
I'm going to have to say no to you on this.
Yes.
You're going to have a consequence on this.
For sure.
You're going to have to learn a lesson on this, right? But shifting gears a little bit on that, right? The father mother role, all that. Like, you're a mom of three like super cool kids, right?
They're
But
amazing.
you're a mom, you're a business owner, right? And you're a wife, you have all of these things, like as a business owner and a mom of three kids, and just aligning all of your faith, your family, your business. Like, how do you keep it all aligned? Like, as a mom, there's a lot of moms out there that
I don't.
you know
Just kidding. Well, I really don't, honestly. Um, well, okay, so really quick, going back to like stewarding, I feel like that is super accurate. And I feel like that's kind of the year that, or like the most recent thing that he's put me into. And that's stewarding the business, but that's also like stewarding my time. And I think this aligns with kind of what you're asking too, is that it wasn't just like stewarding the business, it was stewarding the control of the business
Mm,
too, and learning how to delegate and bringing in support. And so that has been, I think, one of the most recent lessons that he's walked me through is like, I never asked you to carry this all by yourself. And even though you think that you're the only one that's going to understand it, and that was taking me away from my family and my kids and all the things. And I think that's why I was resenting Everclear and getting through burnout, was because I was carrying it all. Like, no, I just got to do it. Like, if I don't do it, it's not going to look like the way that I want to do it, or I just needed to be in control. And so I think being able to steward what he's giving you in a place that's like, hey, you're going to delegate this, but you're going to delegate this because you're also going to be a light to the people that you're delegating to.
mm-hmm.
So it's like, and it's okay for that. And that frees me up to have a little more alignment with my personal life as well, and to be able to pour into my kids and not feeling like I am stuck behind a computer all day and just in control of everything all the
Mm,
time.
yeah.
So
No, that's good.
it's a weird, I hate the word balance. I don't think that there's ever a balance. I use the word rhythm,
Mm, I like
and
that.
that is kind of how I go, because every day is so different for me.
Yeah.
I've got one who's homeschooled. They all used to be homeschooled. This year, God decided that the other two were going to go to a school. And so it's just every day is different in that rhythm. And that's why I said, like, I literally wake up every morning and just ask him to yield my spirit to his, because I know my flesh and I know that I will try to control it. I'll try to get a hold, like, ahead of him. I will I will not be present in the things that the Lord really wants me to be present in, because I'm going to be fixing, I'm going to be managing, doing. And so I have to pray that prayer every morning to make sure that I am taking the day like hour by hour and being like, okay, no, I actually need to stop working on this. It's not on fire. Like, this email actually doesn't need to go out right this second.
Mm,
But my kid is sitting on the couch and he's been asking me to like be with him for the last hour. So
yeah.
I'm going to like stop this and I'm going to walk over here, because at the end of the day, that email, God's the provider of this company. So like, he'll take care of it.
Mm,
Like, it will be okay. And then finding like being authentic with people. Like, I tell people all the time, like, if I have to cancel something, or I try not to, but it's like, hey, I'm actually in a place today where I feel a little overwhelmed and burnt out, and I'm going to go be with my kids today. So I'm actually just going to take the day. And getting to a point where I'm okay with that, because I just know that like it's not on fire and God's going to handle it. And I've seen it on fire and I'm still here. God still handled it. So,
I love that because what I hear is that I'm a mom first,
yeah.
right? And so many business owners, I was guilty of this for years until God wrecked me and I had my 2023 moment, right? Early on, it was 2017. And it became one of those things that it was because I was the person that I would, if you called me, I thought that I had to do business with you. Like I had to do this job,
Yeah.
right? So it was like Saturdays, Sundays. I'm missing the practices. I'm missing the recitals. I'm missing the dance and the singing and the soccer and the football, whatever, right? I'm late to it. There was always some sort of issue because work was first.
Yeah.
And to be able to have that, I think that a lot of people need to hear that because what it what it tells me is that the priority isn't me and business and my business, right? It's what God called you to steward first.
Mm-hmm.
And if you steward, it's like the whole thing of if you can be trusted with a little, then I'll give you more. I can give
Mm-hmm.
you a lot more, right? And if we can't steward our family, then what makes us think that we could steward somebody else's family?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
As
Good.
leader,
100%.
right? And I think and I love that. I love that for you. I love hearing that, and because that's something that really touched my heart too. And being in a service based business for so long, right? That it was really hard. But at the end of the day, right? You are a woman in a blue collar, compliance driven industry, right? Man made, really, right? Like it's men that are making this and that are doing this. But how does that shape how you lead, how you negotiate, how you set boundaries? I know we talked about boundaries the other day in the Bible study, but being that you are a woman in this blue collar space, right? Like, how does that help you or make it more difficult for you in those setting boundaries, in those negotiations with businesses or clients or whatever it may be? Like, how is that for you?
I love it. I've never been intimidated by a man, and people can take that how they want to take that. But I guess I've always had an authority problem, which the Lord is working out, to just understand that my authority straight comes from Him. But
Mm,
I know this comes from probably my upbringing, but I have always been very bold and very, I'm going to tell it like it is. And I don't care that you're a man and you want to look at me like a woman. Like, it just doesn't phase me. And so I actually love it because I feel like I get to bring that part of me out. And I feel like God really made me for this because I feel like I can speak to these men in a way that's like, I can tell you how it is and we can get real and I won't sugarcoat it for
mm,
you. But I also am a woman. So I also have a sense of like compassion and empathy there that comes through. And God has really like softened that part of me throughout the years. I feel like I was always someone who really sat in my masculine energy, which is why I think like he like this lane made sense for me.
mm,
And then throughout the years, the Lord really like brought out that like feminine side, the feminine energy in me. And I feel like that is why it's such a great balance of like where I'm at because I can give it to him straight of how I feel like guys are just wired differently and they just need things that are direct and just no BS
mm-hmm.
essentially. Where girls are like more like let's talk it through and let's talk about the emotions and like that's never been me. So I can kind of just like cut straight like that. But because I've learned the emotional side and the Lord has brought me through so many different lessons and reflecting of my own life and just seeing people and being aware of like their traumas
Mm,
and like really seeing them for who they are and like what environment did you have that you were shaped to be this person? Why do you project like this? Why is this your character? And then coming at it with grace of like, hey, I'm still going to hold my own and my boundary and my standard is this. I'm not going to cross that. But I can also have grace and empathy for you and come at it at a soft point to make you maybe realize my position on something or have an understanding of where you're sitting and I can understand you and still not agree with you.
mm.
So
Yeah. Well, and you know what? Let's explore that, right? Because it's a tough thing. My wife would be like, "Oh, look at you talking about boundaries," and "Oh, that's so good. I've been trying to tell you about that for for years and years and years." And it's funny because everybody has a different way of explaining and understanding boundaries, and sometimes I think it's because of things that they've gone through. But when it comes to business, right? If you don't have a set of standards, a set of values, right? And I've heard all of the great things of like vision and mission, standards, core values, all of the things that truly should be the foundation and what matters in a business, right? Because without them, where are you going?
yeah,
What are you doing? And how do you hold the line?
yep,
Right? Because when you don't have a stern set of standards, which I love that it's like, hey, when you're hiring somebody, I used to do the same thing. Like I would literally allow them to interview me and be like, okay, so I want to know about you, where you're at, and be like, okay, do you have any questions for me? Right. And then oftentimes they would just like it was a job for them. And then I would ask them about relationship and say, this is a relationship. And I would explain to them like what we do, how we're more of a family based. And like you said, it's like I don't necessarily want to like dig into everything in your life, but if I'm going to spend more time with you on a daily basis than, let's say sometimes my own family, right? And there's days where I'm going to spend, 8 to 10 hours with you or maybe we're going to travel and we're going to go to this job or go to this conference or whatever it may be, right? I would like you to know that like I'm not the type of guy that's just going to negate you and just be like, no, I don't care. Like, like you stay in your lane, I stay in my lane. Like I want to know more. I want to help more. I want to be able to sew in more. But at the same time, there's a level as a leader that not everyone gets access,
mm-hmm.
right? Like not everyone can get access to me in the same way that I would allow trusted people. That
Yes,
and it's not necessarily I hate to say it's like, well, you earned it, but it is in a way is it's like you earned it in the sense that you've earned trust, but it's not necessarily you earned it, it's that you built it,
mm,
that you understood the boundaries, you didn't press them, you didn't make it all about you, and that you allowed a leader that is truly being a leader to lead you and guide you and mold you and help you. Because when you come into a business that has kingdom values and that you really do, because the kingdom values need to be that we live the kingdom values outside of work. I always tell people this. It's like a lot of people will take business home with them, right? So men especially will come home and will be very just still in business mode, right? So then now we're kind of, I'm the boss of my family, and you're going to do what I say, and it's not really effective, right? Like you're always in a work mode. Well, 1 second, I'm on this call. 1 second, I'm doing this. 1 second, I'm doing this, right? And the opposite is that you take your family and who you are as a family man, you take your heart and your value for loving others as you love yourself into the business world, right? But at the same way that like my children, like we were talking about this earlier, right? Off camera, that there's certain things that it's like, well, my children don't need to know that right now.
Yeah.
They're going to know it eventually, right? When they're mature and they're able to do that. It's the same thing in the employee space, right? That it's like as you build that trust, but also instill those values and start living them out, then it's like, okay, now I can give you access to this, right? But when you're, and I just want to talk about this for you, is that in one, obviously being a woman, right? And then having like your general manager being a man, right? And then having all these other people involved in the company, what does it look like you to actually set a boundary based upon like, these are our standards. And when somebody, like it's the classic, when you have to fire somebody, they generally broke a boundary, did not respect it, and did not care about the standards. Yeah. Right. So as a woman in this blue collar space, and as a leader, a business owner, a faith, kingdom driven woman, what does it look like for you for those boundaries? Talk about that.
I would say the biggest one for me is going to be truth. I cannot stand when people lie. So that is like probably the biggest thing of a standard for me. And there's a lot of that in the construction industry. Yeah. And I feel like that is even like how Everclear started, right? Like it was like all these promises of like, oh, we're going to help you. We're going to do this. We have your back, da, 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 da. But it was all lies. And I can't stand that. And that's what you see, like even networking with people, it's like, they'll tell you what you want to hear. Yeah. And I'm like, just be authentic, like just be real. So that's probably like my biggest standard and boundary is if I find out that people are lying, like you're probably not going to work for us very long. And I'm probably not going to do business with you if you are like an outside subcontractor, because I've already seen you for what you are. And if I can't trust you, then what are we doing here? If I can't trust your word, like just the things that you're saying to me, now I'm supposed to trust your work. Yeah. You know what I mean? So that's the biggest one for me. And then other than that, I would just, I don't know. The standard is that's probably the biggest standard or boundary that I have is that. Other than that, I just watch people's fruit. I really watch people's fruit, and I go off of my discernment, honestly. Yeah. Like I try to give people grace to begin with. I try to give people the benefit of the doubt, which has bit me in the butt more times than I can tell you. But I do have that there because it's like, okay, well, if people were to take this version of me that I was before Christ, you know what I mean? Would they have ever given me the benefit of the doubt? I don't know. And so probably not. I don't think that I would have been worthy of that. So I try to do that with people, but as soon as I can tell that you cannot be trusted and you're going to cross me in some way, or something is fishy, or I get, you know what I mean? That is the standard. And there are plenty of companies that we have a list of people we absolutely just will not do work with. And I don't care that if they were like, I could give you 100 million tomorrow in sales, I wouldn't work with you because I've already seen what your fruit looks like. And I want nothing to do with it. It's not fruit. It's decay is what it is. I see how you treat people. I see how you show up. I see how you move, how you talk. Like
it's leaven. Yeah. Yeah. And you don't want it in.
So that's the standard. The standard is really just how are you showing up and what is my discernment saying about you? And then I'll move in that accordance.
Yeah. No, that's good. I think that's the hard part, right? Is that as a kingdom entrepreneur, somebody that has surrendered the business over to the Lord and serves the Lord, there has to be a boundary. There has to be standards that say that God is first and I love you, but I will not allow the things that you carry. I always tell people this: I'll allow you in, but not the things that you carry.
Yeah.
And
So,
you have to submit to those standards, because this, it's like coming to my house. Like if you came into my office and brought a bunch of alcohol, I'd be like, sorry, dude, we don't drink here.
yeah.
Like, that's it. You can drink at your home. I'm not even going to judge you. That's on you. Right. But here, doesn't happen here. You're
Yeah.
going to have to leave.
We had a situation where this actually happened. So part of what I was saying earlier with the admin thing, I had, before we got to the place where God was like, go ahead and hire, and then it fell through, and then I ended up doing it again. I had hired someone probably about 6 months prior, and she was so good at her job, Justin. Like, she mirrored me in so many ways that
Mm,
was just like, I was like, this girl is on it. Like, she's the one.
yeah.
Really love her. Um,
Lock her in.
yeah. And then it didn't take too long to where all of the sudden the comfortability sat in,
Mm-hmm. The
and
makeup wore off.
uh-huh.
Yeah.
And she was still really great at her job.
Mm-hmm.
Her skills were not the problem. Her character
Character.
was the
Yeah.
problem.
Yeah.
And all of a
Mm,
sudden we started to have this weird tension work environment issues between the office and the field. And
mm.
there was like this weird tension that was going on, and she said something, they said something, and then all of a sudden it was like, oh, well, Amber said something. And I'm like, I wasn't even here. Like, what are we talking about here? And
So she was speaking for you, saying things like you said
yes,
it? Yeah.
yes.
Mm.
Or like hanging up the phone, and then she would like call the tech and be like, oh, this is, but she was giving something that didn't even get said. But anyways, so, and that was at a time like that really sucked for me, because I was like, dang, like I really just needed the
Had a
help.
lot of
I
hope.
needed
Yeah.
the help. I didn't want to do admin stuff. Like, that burns me out, because it's not my gifting, is not in ad. I'm great at it, but that's not why I'm here. And I didn't want to do it anymore. And she was so good at her job. And I literally, that day, I was like, Chris, you got to go in and let her go. You got to, like, I can't, like, I'll take it all on again, and you can help me. And he was like, I agree. And so we ended up taking all of the weight back
Mm.
again and letting her go that day, because I refused to, like, that was crossing that standard. I no longer could trust you. Your character was showing, your skill set was great, but I'm not here just to hire people with great skill sets. I'm here to hire people that align with my character and godly character and where we're trying to go.
Yeah. It's like the
And she was
scripture.
a godly,
Yeah.
she told me she was a
Yeah.
godly woman. She had come to my church and all the things, but
Yeah.
that wasn't coming through in her, like, actual actions.
Yeah. Business wise, right? And you take the scripture and kind of just put business lingo on it. It's like bad company corrupts core values,
Yes.
right? And
Yes.
that's why we have to have those boundaries.
Hmm.
That's why we have to have that door of being like, this is not, it's not okay. There's certain things that just aren't okay, which means that we have to be very good stewards with the leadership that God has called us to,
Yeah.
right?
And having faith, because it's like, then I was having faith that God was going to strengthen me to take that role on again
Mm,
and be able to, like, even move forward. And this happened several years prior. We had a consultant guy that was he was bringing in a majority of my work at the time. A lot of our big projects, like, majority of our volume was coming in from him. Again, another moral alignment issue that had taken place. He wanted us to do something that he asked my team to do something,
hmm
that it got back to me that I didn't agree with. And I had to really take that to the Lord, because I knew that by letting him go, there was a very high probability that we were going to close the doors.
mm,
Because at the time, I hadn't been marketing, because I was so in the
yeah.
business, trying in survival,
hmm
keeping it going, and he was the direct person that was bringing in a lot of that work. So I knew, and I was just like, okay, well, if it closes, it closes, but, like, we're not doing it this way.
Mm,
I'm not losing my integrity. You're not going to tell my team to do something that just makes my stomach turn. Like, we're not going to do this. And I did. And I let him go, and I fired him. And that was, it was tough. We're still
hard.
building
Yeah.
back from that, but it's
Yeah.
like, the amount of things that God's brought us through now since then, it's like, what a blessing. And I don't regret having him a part of the team for as long as he did, because I still believe that everybody that has walked through Everclear's doors served a purpose there.
Yeah.
Whether that's they served a purpose for me or we served a purpose for them. And we've heard that. We've gotten plenty of calls back that is like, you guys were pretty hard on us at the time, or, like, but I understand why you did it. Like, thank you.
Mm,
Thank you for being that person for me. And Chris gets calls all the time from ex-employees of ours that are just like, now I get it. And I understand. And that's a good feeling. And that
amen.
honestly,
Come on.
like, that's what keeps me going. Like the reviews that come in from our customers, or when I hear like our past employees, they're like, yeah, like, sometimes I have like really high standards for my guys. I expect
Amen.
excellence. Excellence is not perfection. And I
Hmm.
tell them, we're never going to be perfect. Only Jesus is perfect. But I do expect excellence out of you. And I'm going to ride you for that. And Chris is going to ride you for that. And don't be offended by that. Like, it's that's just why we're here. We're doing what we need to do to build you personally and to build this company.
Amen. I love that. I've always had a saying, the level of excellency must always increase. And as
Yes.
a Christian, it's called growth, it's called fruit. Your fruit is excellence. What's more excellent than love and joy and
Yeah.
peace and patience and kindness and gentleness and goodness and faithfulness and self-control? Like, name something better than
There's
that?
not. But
Like,
and eventually once you taste it, it's all you want.
yeah.
So it's like getting to the point and then you become like obsessed with it. Like that's what I have found is like, oh, I would be obsessed with this fruit or this fruit at a time. But now it's like as he walks you through this, you're so obsessed with like the entirety of the basket of fruit
Mm-hmm.
that you're like, I don't just want to pick a banana out today. Like I give me the whole basket. I
Yeah.
want the whole thing
And
and I
then
want
look
it
at what
every
it does
day.
to the people, like even the people in those, like you said, the people that you've had to let go. I have a story like that just happened a couple months ago, that a kid that had worked for me, his name was Anthony, and he had worked for me um, 10, 12 years ago. I don't know. It was a while ago. And he ended up quitting, and he was 18 at the time. And I tried to help this kid. And so I sewed into him in so many ways and tried to help him. Um, and then he had hit me up on Facebook a couple months ago and just said, "When does your men's group meet?" And I'm like, "Bro, you're not even a Christian. Like, what do you mean?" And I'm always very cautious when people are like, "Hey, I want to come check out your group." And I'm like, "Well, hold on a second. Let's talk." Like, you know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
it just, I
Because you have a
present
standard and
a
a
hundred
boundary.
percent, 100%. But he had come back. So he had hit me up and just said that he wanted to give his life to the Lord. He didn't know how, and he just knew that God was calling him. And then at the end of it, like I hadn't talked to him in a really, really long time. And then talking to him, we sat here and talked to him for a long time. And he just said, "There are things that you have taught me when I was 18 that I'm teaching my kids now."
Mm, amen. I
Right.
love
And
that.
then, literally, and when it's like one of those things where I was like, I thought you were just a punk kid that,
Yeah.
like, just dismantled, did all this stuff. And I kind of just forgot about you. You know what I'm saying? Like I moved on in life. But then for him to come back and then be like, "I want what you have." And over all the years, things that you have said and done in my life, they've stuck with me.
Mm,
And it makes you feel good, because that is the fruit, because the fruit is meant for us, not to just sit in a basket and rot and just put in the fridge and rot, right? And just keep, like, the talents, just bury them. They're for those people
yeah.
that are around us, right? And here's the thing. Last question, right? To wrap this thing up, is that for that Christian, and we're going to keep it on fruit, for that quote unquote Christian entrepreneur that hasn't become a given their life to or given their business to the Lord, hasn't made God their CEO yet, right? And isn't bearing that fruit, isn't hungry for that. Those that hunger and thirst for righteousness shall be filled,
Mm-hmm.
right? What would you say to that Christian entrepreneur right now that is more of just an entrepreneur first and doesn't operate in faith and in love and joy and peace and patience and kindness within their business? It is very secular, but knows that God is calling them to something more. What would you say to that person that God is not their CEO?
I think the first question that I would have is going back to the same question that I had, which is this your desire or were you called here?
Mm-hmm.
Because I think there's a lot of business leaders that shouldn't be in business and they shouldn't be leaders at all.
Yeah,
I think that they got there
that's true,
because
man.
they maybe have a skill set, but their character is so flawed. And so it's just they're operating out of ego and that is fulfilling or validating them in some way. And it's a mask. And I don't think that they're actually called to be there. And I think there's a lot of different positions out in the world that I would feel the same on that. But if you are feeling like you're called to be there, then it is that surrender. And I don't really know how to like completely answer that because I feel like God had to break me
Mm-hmm.
to get to that surrender. So it was a breaking of my identity too, because my identity was so wrapped up in the business. Because in the beginning, remember, I was the same way that I'm describing that some of these other people could be operating at. Mine was out of ego. Mine was, hey, this opportunity opened the door, which I still believe God opened that door. I just didn't realize it at the time. But I was operating out of ego and just like, well, I'll show all of you. I'll do this. Like I'll build it, and I'll make it what I need to make it. And it wasn't until God broke that and then broke that identity in me too of like, you don't have anything to prove.
Mm-hmm.
You just need to walk in the way that I want you to walk, and whether that stays small or eventually it gets big. And I think that there's so many leaders and entrepreneurs out there that are just really chasing that validation of like, I'm the biggest business, I've got the most money, and it's not about any of that. It's not about any of that's not the fruit that we're going after. And so to really like come to a place of surrender is like, are you okay with a little then? Are you okay with backscaling it to be in a little so that you can actually pour into the areas that he's asking you to pour into? And maybe that's not for a big amount of gain for yourself. And are you comfortable with that? And if you're not, then I would say that you need to check yourself and take that back to the Lord, because maybe you're not called to be there then.
Man, and you know what the thing is that there is a sensitivity out there that would be like, well, that's harsh. And it's like, no, it's truth. It's real. And somebody that loves you will tell you the truth.
Yeah.
And I always tell people that it's like, well, iron sharpens iron. Iron's hard.
Yeah.
When you're being sharpened, it's like,
this isn't pillow against pillow.
You know
guys.
what I'm saying? Yeah, I always tell guys, it's like, we're not rubbing lotion on each other here, guys. This isn't a freaking back massage. Like you're coming up against something hard.
Yeah.
That's what you need. We need hard.
But this world does not like hard.
No.
They are so offended by everything.
If we get so soft with each other, then how do we call that love? Jesus literally would answer questions with another question that was like, oh, whoa, dude, I got to really think about this. Like the sons of thunder, right? They wanted to call down lightning and thunder on these people. They wanted to strike these people. And he's literally like, that's what you've learned. This is what you've got. All the things that I've taught you.
Sometimes I can resonate with them.
You know what I'm saying? But his grace, right? If you really go and look at some of the ways that Jesus taught, right? Or actually, you know what? Let's put him aside, because I could go in depth on that. Just look at how Paul wrote his epistles. Mm-hmm. Like he's talking to the Corinthians and he's literally like, dude, what are you doing?
He called out Peter.
You know? Like there was a sharpening. It wasn't like, listen, brothers, I'd come to you in the Lord Jesus with love and grace. I'm on the little cloud with him with the little baby angels, and they're in diapers, and we're just in peace, and we come to you in peace. He literally was like, pow, brother.
Yeah.
This is bad. Like you cannot do this. What are you doing? And it wasn't
And then
soft.
he would warn them too. He'd be like, I'm writing you this letter, so when I get there, I'm hoping you're like better.
Yeah.
Like,
you know what I'm saying? And I think that that's the responsibility of us as leaders. And again, your testimony is the key to somebody else's jail cell. What you've gone through matters. What the Lord has walked you through matters. And I want to tell you this, right, is that some of it, like, you know, it's like God walked with you in the brokenness. He walked with me in the brokenness, but it was us going through the brokenness. It was our choices, because man plans his ways and God establishes his steps. So it's like we're planning it, and he's like, yeah, this isn't good. So I'm gonna steer you back into me, because that's the beauty behind Jesus. He always convicts us into him. Mm-hmm. He's never condemning. He doesn't condemn us, or he convicts us into himself. So sometimes because we're going through this manner in a way that we thought was worthy of the Lord, and he's like, no, I'm going to get you there though. It's going to be hard, because at the end of it, you're going to cry out to me and you're going to be in a broken spot, but you're going to find me.
Yeah. And
I'm going to be there for you, and I'm going to help you. And then now every step that you take forward, going from here on out, is going to glorify me. 100%. And that's the beauty behind it, right?
And I think that that's the entire reason of why we're even on this earth, because it's this whole thing is so much bigger than just us. You know what I mean? Like we're here on mission. Like it's so much bigger than us, and that's what I really try to like bring myself back to, is like, okay, well then that means that your way is better for mine, or for me, because you have a plan that goes with this bigger plan that you've got going on. I'm just a mere like ant in the grand scheme of things, but I'm here to do my
grain
job.
Of sand.
Yeah. I'm here to do my job, and like, I'm here to be on mission, and you were the creator of me in the first place. So I'm going to be grateful that I'm even like 2 feet on the ground, breathing the air, and then going in the way that you want, because you literally put me here. So everything else is a blessing. Why would I try? And again, you have to like renew your mind of this every morning, but why would I continue to try and go my way that I've already watched lead me to destruction over and over and over again, when he literally created me to be me? with a mission to go this way to help this big grand plan, but also to lead me to abundance, joy, peace, happiness. You know what I mean? All
Yeah.
of those things.
Yeah.
So,
And that's his love for you. That's his love for us. That's the beauty behind it,
yeah.
right? And we're called to just spread that,
Yeah. And
to
show
just
up
share that
in the way
message.
that we're supposed to in our own unique ways.
Yeah. Amen. Amen. Well, Amber, it was such a pleasure having you on. I
Thank you.
love all that what God has done in your life, what he's doing, and I can't wait to see what he's going to do next because I know his hand is upon you, upon Everclear, and upon your family, upon just your life and your faith. It speaks volumes.
Thanks.
It's amazing. Thanks for being here.
Thanks for having
God
me.
bless you.
God bless you. Thank you.